Well, I had been involved for quite some time in the pro-life movement. When I moved down here, I suppose maybe 9 years ago, getting to know the pro-life community was very, very important to me. And I had a chance at one event, I can't remember exactly how, I believe it was coordinated by one of my students, and I had a chance to meet some of the folks from Sunlight Home, Miss Carolyn and Miss Linda. And I must say, it was love at first sight. The spirit in me tell me that the spirit in them is very, very important to work with them and to get to know all about Sunlight Home. My role with the ministry is basically one of support. When Sunlight Home has an event and they need somebody to do an invocation, someone to speak about the mission of Sunlight Home, or even to support them. Prayers, if we can, financially, and to let the women and their children know how special they are and how much we appreciate them. Like anyone else, certainly I would love to be even more involved with this very special ministry, especially in this day and age when human life is being taken so cheaply. We just have heard of abortion to the moment of dilation, and then even after the child is born, that there are those who feel that they can take a human life. Sunlight Home is about human life. It's about human beings, as President Trump said, being made in God's image and likeness from conception until natural death. The mission of Sunlight Home? Well, it's to, first of all, encourage women to have their children, bring the baby to term. It's also part of the mission that we don't just encourage people to have children, but to give them the options that once the child is born, child may be given up for adoption. That may be an option if that's what the mother wishes. Or the mother may very well wish to keep the child, and that's wonderful too. But we have to give people the option, always the option for life, but we also have to give them the means by which to sustain the choice that they made. And I have been witnessed many times where a person decides, I'm going to keep the child. Sunlight Home provides them with the tools, the resources, the education necessary to sustain a child in a healthy environment and to grow up in a loving environment. Financially, emotionally, spiritually, the tools are supplied here at Sunlight Home. Suppose, though, a person decides, I want to give the child up for adoption. Well, there's open adoption. I've been a witness to that, and tears come running down my eyes when I get to meet the birth mother and then the adoptive mother, present sometimes at the same gathering and rejoicing how they were able to help each other, and then to see such a happy and beautiful children because of what Sunlight Home had done for their mothers and continues to do to support them. It would be remiss, I think, of any organization to talk about building a strong family unit without talking about God, because God's love is what makes family life so rich and so important, and sustain it in difficult times. Very often, no matter how hard we try, life throws a curveball. But if you know that God is always there holding you and lifting you up, and you know God-fearing people like the community at Sunlight Home, you can always rely on prayer. You can always rely on good advice. You can always rely on the support of people who love you because they know God, and God is love. And so Sunlight Home is about love. Oh, wow. There are so many ways that people can get involved. You know, first of all, financially. People should find a cause that they believe in. If you believe in human life and you believe that it's important to take care of women in their time of crisis, then to donate financially to Sunlight Home is one of the best things that you can do. The financial contribution is something that will live on for years. the life of the mother and the life of the child. Your donation really touches the future. Secondly, what about donating your time? There are so many ways that people can use their gifts to help other people. So often you meet people who maybe they've retired. Let's say you are a retiree, but you have so much worldly experience and knowledge and how to. It's so important to be able to share that with someone else. Mentoring the young people, mentoring these mothers. Some people, they were mothers themselves, they raised families. What about sharing that wisdom with someone else? Even down the road, making a choice for a spouse. It's so important to get the advice of somebody that's been there. I know from dealing with my own parents, they would tell me things maybe I didn't appreciate at the time, but wow, they were right. And to have somebody mentor you like that, that's fantastic. And then there are other little simple things that people could do. Can you clean? Yeah, maybe you can help clean a house. Maybe you can get involved in some kind of a community project in the name of Sunlight Home. These are all little things, but they all do make a difference. They make a difference. Collecting clothing for children, supplying toys for little ones. Maternity, do they still use maternity clothes? But sure, what about that? Those are simple things. Can you knit? Can you sew? Can you teach somebody else how to do that? Of course you can. Everybody can do something. And finally, I've met people, they're incapacitated in some way. And in my line of work, I visit nursing homes, and there are hundreds of senior citizens who they don't feel like they can do too much, but I always remind them, what can you do? You can pray. You can pray. And what a wonderful thing if you're unable to do anything else, if you can't even crochet anymore, and yet people make beautiful things in nursing homes and supply Sunlight Home and other organizations with these beautiful things for children, blankets and hats and dresses and all those things. If you just have a reminder of Sunlight Home, a picture, a poster, and you pray together with Sunlight Home in mind, you are doing God's work. Never sell yourself short. Never sell yourself short. And Sunlight, what a beautiful name, because it is sunlight. It's God's light, shining sometimes in the darkest of places. And once the light is there, we see the beauty. And that's what Sunlight Home is all about. It's God's beauty being made manifest. Well, why do I do what I do? Okay, for two reasons. First of all, I want to serve Almighty God. And that's the reason why I became a priest. When I was born, they thought I was a stillborn. And my mother told me the story so many times that God had a plan for me. She said that the doctor said he's a stillborn. And in those days, I think they called it a spinal. So my mother could hear everything that was going on, and she began to cry. And one of the nurses in the room said, "Why don't you try breathing in his mouth?" And it worked. And I never shut up since. So I had I always felt I had to pay God back. Now, you can never pay God back, but yeah, I decided I had to do something to thank God for my life. And I also thought that I had to do something to save the life of other people. How many other people need a chance to live? Have somebody breathe into their mouth, somebody breathe into their life. The breath of God, that was the breath of God. Sunlight Home breathes the breath of God into people's lives. And that's why I love Sunlight Home, because I love to see God's life continue in his children. We are made in God's image and likeness. I can find no better way to thank Almighty God for the life he's given me than to work on behalf of the life of other people.